comes set. The pitch, and it is a swing and a miss. He struck him out with a slider. Got him to totally break down on that breaking pitch. And for Camilo Doval, an excellent bounce back outing. 3 up, 3 down, a couple of strikeouts. The Giants snap their mini losing streak, and they open up this long road trip with a 3-1 victory here in Chicago.
We are back here on Giants Warm-Up. Kerry Crowley rolling with you until the start of Giants baseball in Chicago. The South Side this afternoon, the Giants trying to take a series from the lowly Chicago White Sox after a 3-1 win on Friday evening. Landon Roupp gets the Giants back on track. 5 1/3 innings, 1 run, no earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts for Roupp, who stepped up exactly when the Giants needed it. His ERA down to 3.43 and really saved for that outing when he gave up 6 runs against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Roupp has been a stopper for this Giants ball club. They've absolutely needed the contributions from the 26-year-old former 12th-round draft pick. He has helped live up to the expectations the Giants set out for him way back in spring training when they named him their number 5 starter. It was a relatively surprising decision for Buster Posey, Zach Manassi, and Bob Melvin. When the Giants were down in Scottsdale way back in February and March, they said, look, it's going to be an open competition for the 5th starter job. We know that we're locked in with Logan Webb at the top of the rotation, Justin Verlander, Robbie Ray, Jordan Hicks. We wanted to give him another opportunity. But then you've got 3 young pitchers relatively untested at the major league level. We saw glimpses of Roupp last season, albeit a lot of those coming out of the bullpen. You saw Hayden Birdsong make 16 starts last season. And I think entering 2025, everyone anticipated that Kyle Harrison would be the front runner for that 5th starter job when the Giants held that competition down in Scottsdale. But when spring training began, Harrison was behind his 2 counterparts. He was sick. He didn't have the offseason to build up. It was just a different kind of vibe around Kyle Harrison than you'd seen back in 2024 when the Giants essentially handed him their number 4 spot in their rotation entering the regular season. So Harrison goes down there. He's behind Roupp and Birdsong for a week. And with Birdsong making 16 starts last year and flashing the impressive stuff that we'd seen, fastball up to 97, 98, willingness to throw the curveball, the slider, and the changeup, a true 4-pitch guy, I thought there's no way that Landon Roupp wins this job in the Giants rotation. He's a good story, good pitcher. You go back to 2024, and he actually made the opening day roster as a member of the Giants opening day bullpen. He'd never pitched above Double-A, but he goes down to Scottsdale and just shows that curveball, and everyone in the Giants organization recognized that was one of the single best pitches any Giants pitcher had in their arsenal. And, to succeed as a starter at the major league level, you need 2 to 3 quality offerings. It's oftentimes much easier for you as a major leaguer when you throw 3 to 4 quality offerings, but to really trust someone who just has 1 true plus pitch is a lot. And that's why I think the Giants were comfortable in 2024 saying, Landon Roupp, we think he can succeed out of the bullpen, but long-term, we're not sure about the starting rotation. We don't know what this guy has in terms of building up that cutter, that changeup, the slider that he'll also throw to complement that power curveball that was so good in glimpses last season. But again, it's just 1 pitch. And long-term, you're not going to have sustained success at the major league level if you're throwing just 1 pitch. So when spring training began, I was of the belief that Birdsong would win the job. And Roupp goes down to Scottsdale, and all he does in Cactus League play is put up zeros. It got to the point that by the middle of March, it was impossible to ignore what Landon Roupp had done for the San Francisco Giants, so much so that they sent him over to the minor league complex one day and had him face the Colorado Rockies. And there was genuine interest from everyone inside the organization and from the beat reporters down in Scottsdale as to what Roupp would do against a handful of minor league hitters. And there was an outing in March in Scottsdale after he dominated in Cactus League play when he threw 5 innings, struck out 13 batters, and did so in about 70 pitches. And yes, it was against minor league competition. Yes, it was against hitters from the Rockies organization. But when you're that economical with your pitch count, when you're racking up that many strikeouts against professional hitters, it put people on notice. And from that point forward, I think he was viewed as a legitimate competitor, a legitimate contender for the starting job in this Giants rotation in the number 5 slot. And so you get to the end of spring training. Birdsong's been sensational. He's not walking anyone. Harrison clearly a week behind everyone else. He'd given up a ton of hits. The fastball velocity wasn't there. And Roupp had just put himself in the conversation to the point where the Giants couldn't ignore him anymore. It was either give him that number 5 job or slot him into a long relief role in the bullpen, because this is an arm that belongs and deserves to be on the Major League roster. And so the Giants get to the final week of spring training. They go up to Sacramento to do an exhibition against the AAA River Cats. And they say, look, Landon Roupp, he's going to start for the Giants that day. Hayden Birdsong, he's going to go down and throw for the AAA River Cats against us. And that was the telltale sign that the Giants internally, something had switched in their minds, that Buster Posey, Zach Manassian, and Bob Melvin had said, we believe in this guy, we trust this guy, and we know that he can be a quality asset for us in our Major League rotation. And he ultimately wins the starting job. He goes out the first week of the regular season. He struggles against the Houston Astros, but the Giants win that ball game. He comes out against the Cincinnati Reds at home, throws 6 innings of 1-run ball. But through the month of April, Roupp really struggled. And I think at the end of that month, 6 starts into his first true Major League season. Because remember, last year he was up and down with AAA Sacramento. He was on the injured list. He was dealing with a variety of physical ailments that didn't really enable him to pitch for an extended stretch for the San Francisco Giants until the month of September. So he has that up and down month of May. He ends the month after 6 starts with a 5.10 ERA. And I think at that point, internally, with Kyle Harrison dominating at AAA, with Birdsong thriving out of the bullpen, there were questions about whether or not the Giants had made the right decision, whether or not they believed the hype that they'd seen in spring training, and whether or not those quality outs, those zeros that Roupp was throwing up down in Cactus League play, whether those were inflated by facing maybe less than quality Major League hitters. And so I think he entered the month of May pitching for his job with the San Francisco Giants. I think Landon Roupp had a lot to prove, and he was maybe 1 or 2 starts from being removed from the Giants rotation in favor of, say, a Birdsong or a Harrison or even a Carson Wisenhunt, who in the month of May was really starting to come on at AAA Sacramento. He's backed off of that. He started to struggle, the Giants' top pitching prospect, with the AAA River Cats. But I think at that time, the Giants were seriously considering making a switch. But May 5th, Roupp goes out and he faces the Chicago Cubs. 5 innings, 2 earned, pitches relatively well. Next time out against the Minnesota Twins, 5 innings, 2 earned, pitches relatively well. Giants lost both of those games, but he showed something. And I think he showed the Giants that it wasn't just the curveball that he could rely on to have success. He could throw the cutter. He could throw the changeup with more regularity. And he was developing into more than just a 1+ pitch guy. He was developing into someone who could throw any pitch in any count. And maybe those other offerings weren't as dynamic, weren't as, good in command as the curveball was for him. But I think he gave the Giants the opportunity to continue evaluating him. Until May 17th rolls around, and this, to me, is where Roupp's season starts to really take a turn. He comes out against the Sacramento A's at Oracle Park, and with the Giants in a relative rut at that point. They'd been struggling. They're trying to get back on track. Not all that different from the phase that they entered last night's ball game in. Roupp goes and he throws 6 innings of shutout ball against the Oakland A's. He follows that up against the Washington Nationals the following weekend with 6 innings of shutout ball. And from that point forward, save for his clunker at Dodger Stadium on June the 14th, when he gave up 6 early runs, when he walked 5 hitters, an uncharacteristically bad start, where it seemed like the adrenaline that was pumping through his veins and pitching in the rivalry really got to a young pitcher. Save for that outing, Roupp's been absolutely dominant. I mean, you look at his body of work over the last 8 starts, and you take out that outing at Dodger Stadium, and it's been 7 starts where he's given up a combined 4 earned runs, I should say. 3 against the Braves in a win at Oracle Park on June 8th. 1 against the Detroit Tigers in a loss at Comerica Park on May 28th. But outside of that, of Roupp's last 5 starts, 3 of them, he's given up 0 earned runs. And the Giants absolutely needed that last night against a Chicago White Sox team that doesn't pose much of a threat offensively, but the Giants had learned earlier this week in hosting the Miami Marlins that just because a team hasn't produced to this point in the season doesn't mean that you can let your guard down, that you can be beat. Because the Giants did that against the Miami Marlins, and they were embarrassed at home. 3 consecutive losses to start this grueling, daunting stretch of 16 games in 16 days where the bullpen's going to be stretched, where guys are going to get tired. We're going to have to rely on your bench. And at some point, pitchers who aren't Logan Webb and Robbie Ray, hitters who aren't Rafael Devers, are going to have to step up for this ball club. And Landon Roupp has now done that twice in a row. Last Saturday at Oracle Park against the Boston Red Sox, after a Friday night defeat, Roupp threw 6 innings of shutout ball, allowed just 3 hits, struck out 7. He was dominant. And last night, he gives up the early run after the Willy Adames error in the first inning. He was pitching out of traffic, pitched out of trouble, made sure that miscue from Adames didn't impact his overall performance. And then he just started to settle in, and he pitched extremely well the rest of the way. Gave up some hard contact, gave up a lot of base runners, but at the end of the day, with runners in scoring position, he got White Sox hitters out when he needed to. Landon Roupp has turned into one of the most reliable players on this Giants 26-man roster. No one would have anticipated that at the end of last season. No one would have anticipated that in the middle of spring training. But Roupp has become a quality arm and someone who I think the Red Sox probably inquired about when they made that deal for Rafael Devers, when they got 4 players back from the San Francisco Giants. My guess is the Red Sox probably checked in on the availability of Landon Roupp and Hayden Birdsong. And while Kyle Harrison may have the upside, left-hander who can throw 95 to 97, if he just is able to land a breaking ball for strikes, you can see the potential at the major league level. It's not hard to envision Harrison one day making all-star teams. And it is more difficult for Roupp because he doesn't have the dominant fastball. He doesn't throw 96 to 90 miles an hour from the right side. He relies on an off-speed pitch, a curveball, as his primary offering. But what he's been able to do this season behind Logan Webb and Robbie Ray has put the Giants in a position right now, Saturday, June 28th, where they are very much in contention. It's given the Giants and Buster Posey and Zach Manassian the confidence to go out and add to this roster, which was not the anticipation heading into this 2025 season. The Giants universally expected to finish 4th in the National League West right now, 2nd place in the division. And yes, they were swept by the Miami Marlins. Yes, it got ugly. But they're 8 games over 500, 82 games into this season. At this pace, they're on track to win 88 games. And historically speaking, 88 games is worth a 2nd or 3rd wild card spot in the National League. Now, the wild card race, which is something we will touch on throughout today's show, is going to be daunting for the San Francisco Giants. You've got the Cardinals in the mix, the Brewers in the mix, the Padres in the mix, and I'm not counting out the Arizona Diamondbacks just yet. There's a number of different teams who I think could make sure that this race is a race to 90 wins. Even the 3rd wild card spot in the National League might need to win 90 games. So the Giants are going to have to continue at this pace and even pick up this pace over the second half of the season. But Landon Roupp has ensured that they're in this race during the first half of it. And on Friday evening at Guaranteed Rate Field in Chicago, he did exactly what was asked of him. With the Giants in a rut, with the Giants struggling, he goes out and throws 5 1/3 innings of shutout ball. Wasn't the prettiest start of his career, didn't have the best stuff of his career, but good major league pitchers, which is what Roupp is turning into, are able to pitch when they don't have their best. So it was a huge performance from Roupp. Patrick Bailey, his catcher, comes through. The miscue in right field from the Chicago White Sox ultimately helps the Giants, propels them to this 3-1 win, and should turn around this 16-game stretch in 16 days, where there are no off days, where there's no reprieve for the starting pitchers, where the bullpen's going to be taxed, and where the Giants started 0-3 against a Miami Marlins team that had no business coming to Oracle Park and sweeping San Francisco. Second time that's happened in the history of the ballpark. The other occasion, 2017, when the Giants lost 98 games, were non-competitive throughout that entire season. So Roupp does his job, and he turns the ball over today to Robbie Ray. And the Giants moving forward have to take advantage of a White Sox team that's going nowhere and won't be going anywhere for the next few seasons. And then the Diamondbacks in division play this week, the A's in Sacramento, where they played terribly this season, for the Giants to come back to Oracle Park a week from Monday and to face off against the Philadelphia Phillies and Los Angeles Dodgers. They've got to do so with some momentum. You don't want to go into the All-Star break playing your worst ball of the season. You don't want to go toward the trade deadline having doubts, second-guessing the roster and your chances of making a run of the wild card. And so credit Landon Roupp for 2 consecutive starts, stopping the bleeding, stopping the damage, ensuring that he bounced back from his terrible outing at Dodger Stadium, didn't let a bad day against the Giants' biggest rival affect his mindset for the remainder of this regular season. He's a young pitcher, developing into his own at the major league level, The Giants sure happy that they made the decision that they did way back when spring training began. I am Kerry Crowley. The show is Giants Warm-Up. First pitch today coming your way 1:10 p.m. Pacific Time from Guaranteed Rate Field. The Giants and the Chicago White Sox. San Francisco trying to take the series. Give us a call. 415-808-KNBR is the number. We'd love to hear from you throughout the course of today's show. Very much looking forward to talking with you throughout the course of the next few hours. You're listening to KNBR 104.5 680, the sports leader.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys. Sound right, boys. it sound right, boy.
Behind the pitcher's mound, it's going to be Adames moving under it. He's got it. And Roupp, for the second straight inning, escapes a bases-loaded, one-out jam. Keeps this game tied.
Obviously, no guys on. I want to pound the zone, and I think it gets a little bit more chippy when there's guys on base. You got to be almost perfect. But just really just trying to throw strikes and let the defense work.
We are back here on KNBR. Kerry Crowley rolling with you until the start of Giants baseball on the radio. Robbie Ray goes today for the Giants as they look to take a series in Chicago, the South Side against the White Sox, some interleague play. Landon Roupp goes 5 1/3 innings of 1 run, no earned run ball last night, picking up win number 6 of the season for him. Giants 9-7 and Roupp 16 starts this year. In 5 of his last 8 outings, he has not given up an earned run. Has been so good since May 17th, obviously with one caveat being his brutal outing against the Los Angeles Dodgers. 1 2/3 innings, 6 earned runs, 5 walks that evening at Dodger Stadium, but he's bounced back nicely from that. Has now gone 11 1/3 innings over 2 starts without giving up an earned run. 415-808 KNBR is the number. We're going to head out to the phone lines right now. Get your thoughts on Giants baseball. To Scarecrow in Antioch. Scarecrow in Antioch, you're on Giants Warm-Up. Scarecrow, how are you today?
Hey, Kerry. As always, love your work, man. Great job today.
Thank you so much. What's on your mind today?
I got two quick points. One with the Giants. I think you'll agree, you were playing basically the cellar dwellers, right, with the White Sox. So hopefully with this little skid, we got the win yesterday. This will get us in a good win streak headed into, playing some tough teams, Phillies and everything before the All-Star break. So that's, I think, a good vibe check for us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, they've got to take advantage of this schedule. You can't take anyone for granted, but the Miami Marlins, they took it to the Giants. They absolutely blasted Giants pitchers at Oracle Park this week. Unacceptable, and Landon Roupp had to be the stopper, and he was on Friday evening.
Yeah, and, I agree. And then kind of reminded me, it's always good to – I think the Giants have some good showing, right, on the road, fan-wise.
Yeah, I think they're one of the teams that travel well relative to the rest of Major League Baseball. It always has been the case, at least when I was on the beat, going from city to city. So, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no, sorry. I meant for this series, White Sox.
Yeah. I mean, Chicago, great destination for anyone, so.
Yeah. It just reminded me because I went to see the 49ers play Green Bay in November on the road. And, it just makes for great memories, so.
Oh, yeah.
It just got me thinking about
Thank you so Yeah, thank you so much for the call, Scarecrow. Sorry about that. We were losing a bit of connection there. But, I think, when Giants fans have the opportunity to go on the road, and I think, the Midwest, there was a day, I don't know if it was last year or 2023, where the Giants played both a game in Chicago at Wrigley Field and then the 49ers were in Chicago playing at Soldier Field against the Chicago Bears. It was kind of a dream weekend for Bay Area sports fans traveling out to the Midwest. But Scarecrow brought up, 49ers fans' trips out to Green Bay to see the 49ers take on the Packers. They've always traveled well to Green Bay, a difficult destination to get to, but one of the most unique in the NFL. And I think Bay Area sports fans travel as well as anyone. We've seen it with the 49ers. We've seen it with the Warriors. I think there are a lot of Warriors fans, quite honestly, just located in these different cities they go to because of Steph Curry. He's broken through at that level. But Giants fans particularly interested in going out in the summer, seeing their favorite team on the road. Chicago, a great city to do it. Guaranteed rate field on the south side of Chicago. Pretty good ballpark. So definitely makes for some lifelong memories whenever you can get out, see your favorite team on the road. And I think that, when the team wins, it makes it that much better. Makes the celebrations that much more fun after the ball game. Let's go to Matt in Millbrae here. Matt in Millbrae, you're on Giants Warm Up. Matt, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, Kerry? It's a beautiful summer day here in the city.
Oh, doing well on our end. What's on your mind?
Well, spray patterns have been on my mind all year. What I mean by that is, where the ball lands after the hitter has struck it. And I've realized that the harder you hit your ball, the narrower your dispersion, your spray pattern becomes. And what does that mean? Why is that important? How many times, Kerry, in the last 6 years, starting with, say, the end of Bochy's tenure, when those final few years weren't as good as we had hoped, for the last 5 or 6 years, how many times have you heard the following scenario on KNBR, the sports leader? The ball's hit hard as heck by a Giants hitter. It's just smashed, and the defender is standing right there. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
What a coincidence. Actually, Kerry, it's not a coincidence. That's happened more times than we care to count. But when you're going for maximizing exit velocity too many times, the players, the other teams know that you don't have to, they know right where to stand. So I would conclude my argument by saying there's more to being a great tennis player than hitting the ball as hard as you can every darn time. I think there's more to tennis than that.
Yeah.
Same goes true for baseball.
Oh, I appreciate the call, Matt, and thank you for those thoughts. It was something that I actually thought about a lot yesterday during my morning show. I was on Thursday and Friday with Brian Murphy filling in for the water boy Marcus Boucher, and I started to think about, are the Giants changing their approach this year? Or are they still caught up in the exit velocity craze across Major League Baseball? Or do they simply have players who just don't hit the ball as hard as other teams do? And so I dug into the numbers, and Fangraphs does a great job of breaking things down. The Giants have the 5th most soft contact in Major League Baseball. So 17% of all balls put in play by Giants hitters are hit softly. And that's relative to other teams at the top, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Cleveland Guardians, the Seattle Mariners, the Kansas City Royals. The Giants followed closely by the St. Louis Cardinals, the Houston Astros. There's some good teams in there who hit the ball softly. But the Giants also have one of the lowest hard hit percentages in the major leagues. And after yesterday's game, it is now dropped slightly below the San Diego Padres. So the Giants do have the lowest hard hit percentage in the major leagues, and hard hit ball 95 miles per hour or harder. The Giants, of the 100% of balls put in play, just 27.5% of balls hit by Giants hitters at least 95 miles per hour. So we can sit here and we can say anecdotally, it feels as if the Giants are making hard contact, and they oftentimes just find the glove and they're swinging, out of their shoes, and because of that, they're hit when they make hard contact, they're hitting it right at people, because the scouting report suggests that you play the Giants up the middle, and that's where they're going to hit the baseball. But at the end of the day, when you break these numbers out and look at them across 30 teams of Major League Baseball, the Giants just simply don't hit the ball very hard. And that's a recipe for poor offensive numbers. It is. Look, we can all sit here and say we want more situational hitting. I do. When a guy's at second and there's nobody out, I want the Giants trying to hammer the ball to the right side of the infield and get the guy over to third. When a player's on third base and there's one out, oftentimes, Giants 7, 8, 9 hitters are up. The best move for this ball club is a safety squeeze. It's not trying to add on. It's not trying to drive the ball to the outfield. We've seen this team succeed. Christian Koss, Tyler Fitzgerald with the safety squeeze this season. Pat Bailey's done it. But at the end of the day, the Giants just simply aren't hitting the ball as hard as their opponents. And at the end of the day, that is going to produce an offense that simply isn't up to par with the rest of Major League Baseball. You can go through a 10, 15, 20-game stretch hitting the ball okay and getting a little lucky and getting some solid run support for your pitchers and winning some ball games that maybe you otherwise shouldn't. But over the course of 162, and this is one of the great things about Major League Baseball, you play so many games that the numbers at the end of the season are going to show you that the teams that hit the ball the hardest are the offenses that produce the most runs. And there are some outliers. Colorado Rockies hit the ball extremely hard, but also they're playing at Coors Field. It's a little different. I think when you look at the San Francisco Giants, the low hard hit rate, the high soft contact rate, it's a group that needs to reevaluate its approach at the plate. And I don't know if it's a factor of the hitting coaches. I don't know if it's a factor of the players. I don't know if it's simply the Giants just don't have the personnel who can produce hard hit balls like other teams can. But what I do know is that when I watch this team, there's a lot of ground outs, a lot of right-handed hitters who hit 5-3 and 6-3 putouts, a lot of left-handed hitters, including Jung-Hoo Lee, Mike Yastrzemski, who when they do make contact is a 4-3 putout. Hitting the ball on the ground and making soft contact is a recipe for failure, and it's one of the reasons the Giants have struggled so mightily with runners in scoring position over the last 10 days. And really all season long, save for Wilmer Flores, who seems to be the one guy able to produce with RISP, the Giants have been atrocious with runners in scoring position, especially during this skid, where Giants are 5-8 over their last 13 ball games, but of course coming off of a series sweep to the Miami Marlins. Sandwiched around a series win over the Boston Red Sox, but before that it was preceded by a series loss to the Cleveland Guardians and the Dodgers. And the Giants had taken that ball game on Friday evening at Dodger Stadium. I really thought that they were going to use that momentum, propel themselves into first place on Saturday, but ever since that day, when they tied the Dodgers top of the division, Giants have been moving backward. And one of the reasons they've been moving backward is they are not producing with runners in scoring position. The other reason they're moving backward is because they simply aren't pitching as well as they were. And that's why Landon Roupp's performance last night mattered so much. Because this is a Giants team that got hit around by the Miami Marlins all week. Marlins had double-digit hits in each of those 3 ball games. It was unacceptable. So 2 weeks ago, the Giants were playing on Saturday for the opportunity to take sole possession of first place in the National League. West, where are they right now? 6.5 games behind the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers have used that series, built upon that momentum, seized control of the division, and essentially left no doubt. The Giants, meanwhile, fighting for their lives in the wild card race, where every game, every run is magnified. And maybe that pays off come September and October. Maybe the Dodgers gain such a lead in this division, they take their foot off the gas the final week of the regular season, they lose focus, and when October rolls around, they don't play with an edge. Maybe the Giants, and Bruce Bochy said this throughout 2010, 2012, 2014, and even 2016 when the Giants didn't perform well in the postseason. He said that playing those competitive games down the stretch, fighting for every game in the division and in the wildcard race, it gave the team an edge in October. And so maybe the secret recipe, the magic recipe for a Giants Buster Posey-led organization, a Buster Posey orchestrated team, is playing competitive ball, nail-biters all the way through July, through August, through September, winning 3-2, 4-3, and 5-4 ball games. Maybe that's what this ball club needs. But you would like to see this team go on a bit of a run here. Because over the last, 50, 60 games, this team is right now about 500 ball. And eventually, over the course of 162, that's going to show itself. Giants got off to a great start at the end of March and early April. But since that point, it's been some hot streaks, it's been some cold streaks. It's really evened out. It's a ball club that needs to make some changes. Yes, they've got Rafael Devers in the fold now, but I think Buster Posey has his work cut out for him in improving this Giants roster. We'll get to that throughout the course of today's show. You are listening to Giants Warm-Up. Robbie Ray take the ball in Chicago today, looking to improve his resume for this Giants rotation, improve his candidacy for the NL All-Star team, and ultimately help the Giants take a series against the lowly White Sox, give them the opportunity to sweep Chicago on Sunday after being swept themselves at home by the Miami Marlins. I'm Kerry Crowley. You're listening to Giants Warm Up here on KNBR 104.5 680, the sports leader.
Adames scores. Here comes Koss. He'll score without a throw. Bailey all the way to third, and the Giants take a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, when we get a big hit like that now, it's huge, especially in a game like that where one at bat could dictate the course of the game. You know, earlier in the season we were really good in a lot of those situations, and we haven't been. But to get that one right there, obviously, was the biggest hit of the game.
We are back here on Giants Warm-Up. Kerry Crowley rolling with you until first pitch this afternoon from Guaranteed Rate Field on the south side of Chicago. The Giants trying to take a series from the Chicago White Sox. 45-37, trying to go 9 games over 500 after Patrick Bailey lifted them up with the hit that this team desperately needed on Friday evening. Score tied 1-1. Bailey comes up, struggled all season, drives one into right field. White Sox right fielder makes the humiliating mistake of diving the ball, let it rolled past him all the way to the fence. Bailey ends up at third, 2-run score, and the Giants don't look back. 415-808-KNBR is the number. As we roll through our Giants warm-up here, we would love to hear from you. Some Giants fans on the line right now. Let's go out to Mark in Fresno. Mark in Fresno, you're on KNBR. Mark, how's it going?
Hey, Terry, it's good to talk to you, man. I just want you to know that I've been a Giants fan since like 1962. So I've been with the boys all these years. I'm almost 74. So I remember, listening to games on my mom and dad's clock radio in the bedroom, back in the early 60s and stuff. So I go way back. But my question is, I'm still kind of confused. I don't know the real answer. When Shohei Ohtani pitches for the Dodgers, whether he goes 1 inning or 2 innings or 7 innings or whatever, when he comes out of the game, where does he go in the lineup? Does he automatically go from pitcher to DH, or is he out of the game? Like, what happens?
So I'm pretty sure that Major League Baseball instituted a rule called the Shohei. It's not called the Shohei Ohtani rule, but it allows a starting pitcher who's also the DH to remain in the game as the DH after they come out as the pitcher. So let's say that Ohtani, who's pitching today against the Kansas City Royals for the Dodgers, is their DH and their starting pitcher. So when he comes off the mound 2 innings into the game, he's still their DH and he's still hitting in that first or second slot in the order where the Dodgers slot him in. And Major League Baseball essentially created this rule to ensure that Ohtani could stay in games because it's good for business and it's good for the Dodgers. So that's why they did that.
Yeah, it's good for the Dodgers. Everything doesn't seem like it's good for everybody else, but I don't know.
It's certainly not good for everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, but
it really it isn't good for everyone else.
But I mean, still, if a pitcher for the Giants comes out after 6 innings or 7 innings or whatever, he's out of the game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, like, there's not a situation right now, although, I mean, you look at the end of the Giants bench, maybe Logan Webb, who hit the last pitch or home run ever, maybe he could be a DH one day. But I think there's no situation where the Giants would ever have one of their pitchers slotted into the lineup. So he comes out after 6 innings, he's no longer in the game. Whereas Ohtani, they always want him as their DH,
Yeah, I don't know. I just... doesn't pass the smell test for me for some reason. But anyway, that's all I wanted to know, Kerry.
No, you're right. Show. You're right to be skeptical. You're right to be skeptical, Mark.
All right, thanks, Kerry. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks so much for the phone call. Yeah, I mean, look, Major League Baseball instituted that rule because it's good for business. It's good for business, and it's good for Ohtani. It's good for the Dodgers. You don't want the most marketable player on the planet coming out of a ball game after 2 or 3 innings because he didn't pitch well that day. So that's why Major League Baseball put that rule into effect, and they were essentially saying, this could work for any team. This could work for anyone. The Giants, they drafted Reggie Crawford a few years ago out of UConn. He was a pitcher and an incredible hitter at UConn, played in the Cape Cod League with the Bourne Braves. He was someone who was kind of viewed as a potential two-way player. Even Bryce Eldridge coming out of high school, he was a great two-way prospect coming out of high school. But inevitably, 99.99999% of players are either going to be position players or pitchers. And so Major League Baseball was saying, anyone can do this. If you want to, light them up. We'll have them go. The Dodgers are going to be the only team to experiment with that. Maybe we'll see another unicorn in the next 25, 50 years. I don't know. But it is the Ohtani rule as far as I'm concerned. Let's go to Mark in Burlingame. Mark in Burlingame, you're on KNBR. Mark, how's it going this morning?
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Of course. What's on your mind?
Hello. Well, I'm going to be a little bit controversial here today.
Okay.
The first thing I want to talk about is really the job security of Bob Melvin. And, if we look at Bob Melvin's track record when he was with the A's, I don't know if he did much with the A's. Just feel like the Giants are a little bit lackluster in, just their energy on the field, and, it's like, I don't want to put anybody's head on the chopping block, but at some point, and I know we got Devers and it's not supposed to change everything overnight, but at some point, we need to talk about his job security, if we're not getting
look, he's in the final year of his contract. Mark, he's in the final year of his contract, and I'll say this. If the Giants miss the playoffs, I think there's a real conversation to be had about Bob Melvin's job security, if he's the right person to lead this team moving forward, and if Buster Posey could go out and find someone else. I think he'll probably get one more opportunity with this Giants team. But you were right. Like, the Giants say the Devers thing isn't supposed to change everything. In my mind, it does change everything. It takes a season where Giants fans would have been happy to win 84, 85 games and be in the wild card race until the very end to, in my opinion, October is now the bare minimum. Like, winning a playoff series is the expectation for this ball club. The Devers trade ratchets things up, and it's Bob Melvin's job to get this team in position to get there. So I don't think you need to have the conversation right now. They're 8 games over 500. They are very much in the mix in the wild card race. But if they miss the playoffs, if they don't make a postseason run, then I think it's an open conversation to be had,
It is, and I don't know what happened, and I know I'm not living in the past with Bochy, but, it was great having him and winning 3 championships. So I don't know who we would move on to, what candidates would be out there. The other thing I wanted to talk about was great trade for Devers. We're, so to speak, kind of addressing our hitting. But, I think the Giants, and I know Posey's thinking about this, that we should be in the market for a pitcher as well, because if we're going into a 7-game series in the playoffs, we really only have 2 serviceable, dependable starters. And that's not going to win you a 7-game series. You have to have at least 3-4 starters that are going to give you solid, innings and get you deep in the game. So, I don't know who's out there. I know Alcantara's out there from Miami, Walker Buehler, but the Giants should definitely be in the market for a starting pitcher, if not 2, because I don't think, Roupp had a great game, but he's up and down. Birdsong's not looking good. So we need to shore up our pitching. And, we take it for granted, that, okay, we got Logan Webb, Cy Young Award nominee. Robbie Ray's pitching great, but, great bullpen. But if you overwork that bullpen because your starters can't go deep, you're in big trouble in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. You're preaching to the choir here. I'll tell you, I am making the case that the Giants need at least one more pitcher on this roster at the deadline. I think they need to go with the starting pitcher, and I also think that they would benefit from making a trade with someone in the American League. Say, you look at the Baltimore Orioles right now. They've got a number of good setup guys who could slot into high-leverage situations. It's an Orioles team that needs young players in their farm system. They're not going anywhere this year. There will be trades to be made come July. I think you look at the 2010 deadline that Brian Sabean had as a template for what Buster Posey needs to do. 2010, he goes out, he gets Javier Lopez, he gets Ramon Ramirez, he gets 2 guys who can slot in to the high-leverage situations in the 7th and 8th innings, and the Giants were transformed from that point forward because they had 5, 6, 7 different guys who they trusted in a tie ball game with a 1-run lead to go get the job done. I think that absolutely has to be Buster Posey's mission at this year's deadline.
Yeah, and last thing I wanted to talk about is the Giants ballpark. Is our team really built for playing in that park right now? Because you look at Willie Adames, and he's hitting some bombs that are landing on the warning track. Devers hit one the other day. I guess he just crushed one the other way maybe. That landed on the warning track. That would have been out in Fenway. So they're a little bit shocked at, how the ballpark plays. Do we have enough speed? Do we have enough contact guys? If you look at our World Series champion teams, from 10, 12, and 14, we had a lot of guys that could hit for contact. We had some speed on that team as well. So is this team, built for our ballpark? I look at guys that, like some guys on our team right now, like Jung-Hoo Lee, he's not hitting that well, but he doesn't have that much speed. You look at
he does have
Ramos,
a lot of speed.
who I like.
Jung-Hoo Lee does have a lot of speed. If he starts to hit, if he maximizes the approach that we saw in April, he's the perfect player for the ballpark. He just hasn't lived up to what we saw in the month of April.
And, I just wanted, I'm just a lifelong Giants fan. I was there in '88 when Will Clark got the base hit off of Mitch Williams up the middle. I was there at Candlestick. I was there at Candlestick when they had dollar fries. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
I'll tell you, there will be a lot of people chiming in on the text line who remember that as well. So, Mark, thank you for the phone call. Appreciate your thoughts. And I do think, if you were considering this 2025 Giants roster and is it the perfect fit for Oracle Park, you could say maybe. I don't want to outright rule them and say no. Back in 2012, the Giants finished with 31 home runs over 81 games at Oracle Park. This year's team already has 37 home runs at Oracle Park this season. It's not going to blow away records that you saw in 2021, but I think that they're capable of going gap to gap. I think Matt Chapman's a great player for Oracle Park, and I also think that a team built on pitching, which the Giants are right now, the league's best bullpen, Logan Webb and Robbie Ray at the front of the rotation. Robbie Ray, someone who induces a lot of fly balls. You don't want him playing at like Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati where the ball travels. You don't want him playing at a Dome Stadium in Milwaukee where the ball travels, or Chase Field in Arizona. The Giants roster, to a large degree, is built to win at Oracle Park. There are certain players who just aren't living up to the billing. Willie Adames came to San Francisco as a gap-to-gap player. He's not hitting the ball into any gap right now. His swing has changed this season. He's struggling to adapt to playing outside. He admitted as much after spending his entire career inside Milwaukee and before that in Tampa at the Trop. So I think you can look at this roster and you can say it's flawed, but all 30 teams have flaws. The Dodgers, who are in first place in the National League West by 6.5 games, they can't keep a pitcher healthy and haven't been able to do so for the last 3 years. Let's go to Bob in New Jersey. Bob in New Jersey, you're on Giants Warm Up. How are you, Bob?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, doing well on our end. What's on your mind?
Okay, I go back to the Mays McCovey days. About the lack of hitting, do you really think it's an approach or a philosophy or just a lack of talent? I would ask you, you look at their lineup, who would you consider a good hitter in their lineup? I would say two, Devers and Ramos, and they're going to strike out a lot. But the other guys, Adames and Chapman, they're 240 hitters. Bailey right now is an automatic out. They need a major league second baseman. Yastrzemski is like a 240 hitter. He's on pace to drive in 45, 50 runs. I wish someday they would upgrade right field, but they seem to be quite happy with Yastrzemski. I know he's a very good defensive player. I think it's a lack of talent on the hitting end. What do you think?
Well, okay. What to you is a good batting average? Let me ask you that, Bob.
Well, in this day and age, maybe that's hard to say. I'm not going to say 300 because, in today's game, I would say if you hit with power and you hit 250, that's fine. If you hit with power. If you don't hit with power,
exactly.
I'd like to see you hit maybe at least 270 plus. I am, tremendously disappointed in Lee. In April, I was bragging to my friends that, how good a player he is, even when he, even his outs are hard. 2 months, I don't know. He must be hitting under 200 for the last 2 months, no?
He is. Yeah, it's been terrible for the last 2 months. But let me paint the picture for you right here. There are 8 Giants hitters right now who are above league average in terms of OPS, on base plus slugging, which is my preferred statistic. It's Elliot Ramos, 36% better than league average. Rafael Devers, 33%. Matt Chapman, 32%. Casey Schmidt, 29%. Dominic Smith, 28%. Mike Yastrzemski, 10%. And Jung-Hoo Lee still 7% better than league average right now in terms of OPS. So I understand that the lack of hitting is disappointing. I think a lot of it's a product of the ballpark the Giants play in. You're just simply not going to play that many games where you're scoring a whole lot of runs. And when you're a pitching and defense first team, the hitting's not going to carry you all season long. Like, we can sit here all year and complain about the fact that the Giants don't have the best lineup in baseball, but Buster Posey never expected the hitting to carry this ball club, right?
I understand that, and the point is, you look at the 9 games they just played at home with Cleveland, Boston, and Miami, and you're right. If you look at the aggregate of all the at bats in that 9-game stretch, the other teams just hit the ball on the screws way more often than the Giants do. It jumps out at you. One other quick thing, if I could ask you this has been bothering me forever. In terms of the draft and so forth, which the Giants have been terrible for years, that's the elephant in the room. They need to upgrade that dramatically. Is Michael Holmes, who was Farhan's right-hand man, is he still in the organization?
He is, and he'll be leading the draft this year as the director of amateur scouting.
So they brought back Bobby Evans. Wow. What do they say the definition of insanity is?
I mean, Bobby Evans has 3 World Series titles as an assistant general manager.
That's
what do you
but
want?
I mean,
he's not making the decisions at the end of the day. Like he's doing the job that he essentially held when the Giants won 3 World Series titles. I don't think bringing Bobby Evans back into the organization is something to get all up in arms about.
Well, perhaps not. But let me ask you this: who breaks ties with the draft?
I would imagine that Buster Posey's probably in that room breaking those ties. I think if the Giants are torn and it's Michael Holmes against a scout or, Michael Holmes against a few other people, my sense would be that Buster Posey would have some influence in the selections the Giants will make. Now, this is his first draft. I haven't heard much about the process. We're still 3 weeks out from it. But you would imagine the person top baseball executive in the organization is going to have some sway and influence over that.
I guess. One other quick thing. I know you're giving me a lot of time. You know what really bothers me? The Dodgers keep finishing ahead of the Giants in the standings, which means they pick behind them in the draft every year. How is it in like MLB Pipeline and Baseball America, the Dodgers always got 5 or 6 guys in the top 100, and the Giants, if you're lucky, they have 2. They have 1 now, Eldridge. I mean, doesn't that tell you something?
It does. You're right on, Bob. The Giants have been terrible at the draft of the last decade, but I think the Dodgers have also done exceptionally well, and it's an organization that really serves as the model organization around Major League Baseball. Giants fans don't want to hear that, but other teams look at the Dodgers and they're like, we need to replicate what that organization is doing, you know?
I agree. Hey, thanks for the time. Great speaking with you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I appreciate the questions. Good stuff, Bob. Good stuff from Bob in New Jersey. 415-808-KNBR is the number. I appreciate all the phone calls this morning. Some great stuff here on KNBR. Giants warm-up rolling into our second hour here. Yesterday, Brian Murphy and I hosted the morning show. I was filling in for Marcus Boucher, the water boy. We interviewed Giants Vice President of Player Development, Randy Winn, new in the front office this year alongside Buster Posey, one of Buster's big hires. We're going to play that conversation for you on the other side on the state of the Giants farm system and things that Randy Winn paying attention to at this time of year. So good setup from Bob there talking about the draft and what the Giants are focused on right now. You're listening to KNBR 104.5 680, the sports leader. We are back here on Giants Warm-Up. Kerry Crowley getting you set for Giants baseball on the radio. Coming your way. First pitch, 1:10 p.m. Pacific time from Chicago. 3:10 p.m. local time out there at Guaranteed Rate Field. Robbie Ray going for the Giants today as they try to take this series. A disappointing week at Oracle Park. The Giants were swept by the Marlins. Landon Roupp helping get things back on track last night. Patrick Bailey with a big hit. 2 runs brought in with the triple out to right field. Giants take it 3-1. The bullpen with a lockdown performance. And now they go for the series victory today. And in their minds, hopefully the series sweep tomorrow afternoon. So yesterday morning, I was on the morning show with Brian Murphy, filling in for my good friend Marcus Boucher, the water boy. We had the opportunity to chat with San Francisco Giants Vice President of Player Development, Randy Winn, who's out in Richmond, Virginia, taking in the Giants AA affiliate games out there. They're building a new facility out there as well. So big, comprehensive conversation with Randy Winn on the state of the farm system, the latest with top prospect Bryce Eldridge, some of the pitchers to keep an eye on, and, of course, Winn, former trade deadline acquisition 20 years ago, 2005, what he thinks of Rafael Devers and the ratcheted up expectations for the San Francisco Giants. So without further ado, Cole, let's play that conversation.
All right, with Kerry Crowley filling in for Marcus today, you got your boy Brian Murphy here on a Friday. We got a Reggae Friday, Bob Marley exodus to Chicago, where the Giants will be playing the White Sox tonight. Randy Winn is one of my favorites, not just because he was a great Giant, and he's a local guy, San Ramon Valley High School, of course, Santa Clara Bronco, don't you know? And not only that, one of Buster Posey's trusted assistants, but me personally, I've been on the Giants Community Fund Board for a long time, and Randy is our current chairman, and he's doing an amazing job. So he's a busy guy, so we sure do appreciate him hopping on from Richmond, Virginia, don't you know? So, Randy, sorry we're coming this late. We sure do appreciate you making some time for us and for Giants fans out there. How's your Friday morning, Randy? How you doing?
I mean, with that intro, how could it be bad? I mean, I think I could. Can I bring you along with me, and just when I walk in a room, just intro me like that? That was amazing.
Wow, was it that good? Okay, well, hey, you know what, Randy?
Yeah.
All I did was recite
All I
did was recite your resume. So what does that say about you?
No, you had some personal stuff in there, but no. Thanks for having me on. Yes, I'm calling in from Richmond, Virginia. Here, watching the AA Richmond Flying Squirrels. And actually, about to go check out, they're building a brand new stadium, so I'm getting a chance to walk through. It's called Carmack Stadium. The team will be moving in next year, so that's really exciting. Pitchers have looked amazing. I'm just going to check it out for myself.
Awesome. Randy is, of course, now the Vice President of Player Development and helping Buster Posey try to craft a winner here. There's so many different questions we can ask you about what's going on in the minor leagues. But I want to kind of go big picture here. And by the way, Kerry Crowley, former Giants beat writer, is with us here too. So, but the big picture is when you got hired, we asked you, and you were kind of saying, well, Buster and I are going to kind of figure it out along the way, if I'm paraphrasing you a little bit. Just, we know what our vision is, but like sort of day-to-day operations, we're sort of going to like, I don't know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but yeah. I guess my long-winded question is, how's it been going, and what has your strategy evolved into? How are you attacking this job?
Yeah. Yes, it has been, a day-to-day evolution of kind of what we both feel that the job should be. But I feel like we're in a really good spot. I'm really excited about the things that I've seen. When you talk about kind of the vision for the organization or the vision for minor leagues, I feel like my job is to take the vision that Buster Posey's talked about. And you can take any interview or what he's talked about, even as a player, what the Giants organization should be, how we should play on the field, how we should conduct ourselves, and bring that to our minor leagues and really make sure that message is being talked about. One of the big ones has been situational hitting for us as an organization. So that was a focus for us here in the minor leagues, being better base runners, pitchers throwing strikes. All of those things that Buster talked about in the media are the same things that I talked about in spring training as I continue to go around to teams, making sure that it's not getting lost. I know the grind of a major league season. I know the grind of a minor league season. Here in Richmond, it'll probably be somewhere around 90 degrees at game time, around 6:30 tonight. So you start getting that summer heat, and sometimes your mind drifts. So just making sure that the players, the coaches, the staff, that we're still all on the same page, and that our goal is to, one, make each and every player the best version of themselves, and two, try to develop winning players that can help the major league, the big Giants, win ball games.
Certainly a message that resonates with a ton of Giants fans, particularly from watching you in your playing days, Buster in his playing days, Randy. And I know anytime you do an interview, the first question almost always about Bryce Eldridge and what he means to this organization, what he can bring to the big league team when his time eventually comes. Obviously dealing with an injury right now. We know he's going to be out for a few weeks with the hamstring. Just what have you seen from his development this year, and what kind of potential do you think he has at the big league level when he inevitably gets there one day?
Well, I'll say this right off the top, that hype and pressure are two big beasts. And I'm trying my best not to put extra pressure on some of these young kids. And when you talk about Bryce Eldridge, he's 20 years old. He's a man, but he is still really young. I had never seen Bryce play with my own eyes before this year. I had heard a lot of the stories and the hype. What is there to like about Bryce Eldridge? He's big, he's strong, got a really nice left-handed swing, can hit for power. I think he's going to surprise some people as he gets older, his ability to hit for average as well. He's been working really hard on his defense. He's a really, really hard worker. That's one of the things that when I come into town, that's what our staff talks about, is how he really has a passion to get better, and playing this game for a long time. The game's not easy. Some days it is, most days it's not. But the one thing that you have to do is you have to continue to be a student, and you have to continue to get better. And I've seen those qualities in Bryce. What does he ultimately become? I don't know. That's really hard to project. But there is an awful lot to like about this young man, from his work ethic to his physical skill set.
Randy Winn is the voice you hear as you're listening to KNBR AM and KNBR FM, San Francisco, the sports leader, a Cumulus media station. Just to follow up on Bryce before we go to others, and that is he had a hamstring injury, unfortunately. I think I saw 3 to 4 weeks from one of the reporters. I don't know, just for you guys as a front office, how does that slow his development? In other words, I guess the net is, should we not expect to see him in 2025 then?
I wish I had that crystal ball that I could give you that answer for sure. I don't know. It's all up to Bryce, and it's all up to how his development goes. For me, my job, what I want is the complete opposite of what most people listening want. I want Bryce Eldridge and all the players to stay in the minor leagues for as long as humanly possible, and so they can become the best players of themselves before they get to San Francisco. I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear, but that's my focus and my job. So, selfishly, I hope he doesn't make it, because I really think that the time spent in the minor leagues is really, really crucial to making players be able to have the longevity and the success in the big leagues. I don't think you want to rush guys. There are guys that show you that you're ready. And I think Bryce is going to be one of those guys that when he's ready, there'll be no question, we will all know. Could that be in 2025? Yes. Might that be later? It might be. We are not putting any parameters on it. We're not saying yes or no. We're going to let him go out and play and develop and sit back and watch.
Randy Winn, his voice you hear on the UMA guest line. He's the Vice President of Player Development and, of course, runs the Giants Community Fund. We could always donate at jrgiants.org. Well, that's a different topic. Randy, is it my imagination, or are top college picks coming to the bigs faster? I don't know if it's media or if it's me. The latest was this kid Chase Burns for the Reds. Jack Caglione gets all the sorts of buzz. The A's have a kid named Nick Kurtz. There's Cam Smith, a kid from the Astros, I believe. A guy named Ryan. Anyway, I think these are all top draft picks. But are guys making the bigs faster now coming out of college? Is it because of travel ball and or just playing baseball younger? Am I right or am I wrong about that?
You know what? I think you're right. I haven't seen any like numbers or actual proof, but it does seem like there are guys that are moving at incredibly fast rates. I think there's a lot of things that go into it. Probably travel ball, year-round baseball, which that's a whole nother discussion, which I think there's probably more negatives than positives. But if you're talking about guys that have played a lot, that are more polished when they get to the professional ranks, there probably are some. I do think, if I'll go on a tangent, I do think playing year-round puts a ceiling on you a little bit. But with that said, we're seeing guys move up really fast. I think that also has to do with the way the minor leagues are structured in terms of having, each organization has 1 to 2 less teams. And so there's less spots to put guys. And therefore, for example, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a draft. You have 25 guys come in, 25 guys have to go out. You need to find spaces for those 25 guys. You don't have this soft landing of the good old short season A-ball team, which was kind of a natural progression for college guys to go to. A lot of those guys are now ending up in full seasons. Whether that's low A or high A, then next year they jump to double A, and then boom, next thing you know, they're on the doorstep of the big leagues.
Randy Winn joining us from Richmond, the Giants AA affiliate right now. And Randy, I mentioned this to you when I saw you at Oracle Park last week. I think one of the coolest aspects of your job is the fact that you get to travel to all the minor league facilities that the Giants have affiliates at, and look at all the players in the farm system, really get a grasp of where this organization stands and where it will be a few years from now. I wonder, from your perspective, with all the travel this season, where are the strengths of this farm system right now? Do you see it pitching heavy? Do you see it position player heavy? Good base runners, good strike throwers? Where do you see as kind of the top strengths of the farm system at the moment?
Oh, I think the really easy answer is some of our upper level pitching, which you guys have seen a lot of that. Guys have been up and down. I think that's a really easy strength to point at. We've got a couple guys in our rotation. You've seen a couple relievers go up and down. And you saw one guy who ended up getting traded in the Rafael Devers trade. There's a lot of stuff written about where we rank, how low we are, how high we are, how middle we are. I don't get caught up in that stuff. What I do know, and this is a big congratulations to a lot of people that were in this organization before I got here, we were able to pull off a trade to bring in one of the top hitters in baseball, and that was largely rested on our farm system, Harrison, Tibbs. So, the way we've drafted, international scouting, amateur scouting, player development, all contributed in us in having that ability to make the trade. So I say you throw out all those rankings. They're fun. I know somebody has a job to do out there, but back to your question, I think our upper level pitching is kind of the easiest one to point out, and that's the one that listeners are probably going to have a chance to recognize here, with the Birdsongs and Roups and those guys.
A few more minutes with Randy Winn, who's the Vice President of Player Development. I know we love talking about the minors and prospects and all that, but I do need just your thoughts on the big club. Boy, Buster's done a lot to reshape this franchise, whether it's Willy Adames or whether it's the big trade for Rafael Devers. I don't know how frustrated he or you are by getting swept by the Marlins at home. Can you speak to that? A team that gets Devers and then goes 3-6 in the next 9 games. It's very frustrating. Randy, can you talk the Giants fans off the ledge, or are you throwing things across the room like everybody else?
I'm not throwing things across the room quite yet. Yes, it's frustrating. I would talk about this when I was doing my previous job on pre and post. It's very easy to look at a schedule and say, these are the games we are going to win or that we must win. The reality of a season is that it never goes the way that you want it to. So you're going to be playing well for some stretches. You're going to be playing not well for some stretches. And when you're playing well, you beat a lot of teams and teams that you quote unquote shouldn't beat. And when you're not playing well, you know what? Everybody's a major league player. You can be beat. So, the team hasn't been playing quite as well here recently as they were early in the season. And, if you want to say they lost to a team that they should have beat, I never get caught up in that stuff. but I think it's too early to be throwing stuff across the room or be up on the ledge. There's a lot of baseball to be played. And, a week from now or 2 weeks from now, you can look back at the last 14 days and say, oh, we're the greatest team of all time again, because of the way that they played. The season has peaks and valleys. We were recently in a valley. A peak could be right around the corner, including tonight.
Randy, one of the things that I know all Giants fans love is a guy who comes over via trade, makes an instant impact. It was 20 years ago this summer that you came over from the Seattle Mariners and just got so hot down the stretch. I think he hit well over 300, an OPS over 1,000 that year. What was it like when you first got traded? I know Rafael Devers is experiencing a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations. What was it like for you when you came to San Francisco and tried to just blend in and be a part of this lineup?
There's pressure, there's expectations. You want to prove that not only that you belong, but that the team was right in giving up the players to bring you in. So I know I had trouble with that, especially my first couple of weeks. I wanted to get hits. I wanted to win games. I wanted to just prove to each and every eyeball that was on me that I was worth the trade to come over. And then also for me, it was a homecoming. So coming back home, that was also a really big part of it and really motivating for me. And it wasn't until I was able to just kind of relax a little bit and just realize that, okay, you this is the same game. You've done this before. You've been in the big leagues for a while now, that I got back into my routine and then just relaxed, and then balls just started falling in. So Rafael Devers is going to be okay. You look at his track record, the man is a very good player. It seemed like to me that he was trying to hit every ball 9 miles there for about the first 5 games when I was back in San Francisco. And we all know the type of power that he has. I think once he settles in, 9 games or so, whatever it is, I mean, that's just a small sample size. He's going to go back to being Rafael Devers. So there's a bit of an adjustment. You put a little bit too much pressure on yourself to try to be the best version of yourself. But the reality is, like I said, there's peaks and valleys as a hitter. Some days you win the battle. Some days the battle gets you. But I think Rafael Devers is going to win the battle more days than he's not.
Randy, and by the way, yesterday, home run, double, single, and a walk. So maybe starting to relax a little bit. Just last one on Buster. It's been less than a year. He took the job October 1st, and then he asked you to join him as vice president of player development. And, I don't know. Is there a story that indicates how different he is, or how much the same he is, or how seriously he's taking this? He's got a wife and 4 kids. He's a busy guy. And yet here he is trying to remake the Giants. Seems very passionate about it. What have your day-to-day interactions been? What's your favorite Buster the Executive story?
I don't know if I can tell it on the radio, actually.
Oh, Buster has off-color stories? I didn't think he had those.
No, he does not.
All right.
He is taking this seriously. He's very passionate. Even as a player, you look at him and he looked very stoic, but he was a guy that wanted to win, wanted to compete, wanted to do well. All of those qualities, none of those have left. They're still there. I guess a quick story. I'll wake up in the morning and look over, early AM and have a couple texts from him, and it could be anything from a specific player, something that he watched on video, maybe that happened in the minors, or it could just be my thoughts on something. And, it's not every day, but it's often enough that, he gets up, he's got small kids, he's got a lot of stuff going on, but in his position with the ball club, in his position as player, as president of baseball ops, he's focused on this team and he wants his team to win. Like, that hasn't changed from a player. Now he's just in a different position, but the fact that he wants the Giants to do well, he wants the Giants to win, and that now he is focused on that in a bigger and broader sense, is really, really cool.
So is there sort of unwritten rule, like when Buster texts you, you got you better get back to him within the next 2 minutes, or there'll be
No, nothing like that. But but yeah, I was somewhere on the East Coast, and it was like 10 a.m. my time. It's now I'm up and moving around, and then I look and it's like, oh man, he's texted me a couple times already. He's passionate. He wants the organization to do well, and you know what? I love that he is fearless in this. Making the early move to get Devers before it kind of ramped up towards the trade deadline, and the Adames move. It's been fun to be a part of. I'm really enjoying my job, and just happy for the opportunity.
That's awesome that you're liking it, because we need smart people like you doing this stuff. I guess last one, just for fun, is just the top. I look at the Giants' top 30 prospects, and like you said, rankings. You're like, you kind of roll your eyes, like, dude, we got our own situation. We don't need somebody from the outside to rank us. However, the top ranked. That said, the top ranked Richmond Flying Squirrel is a lefty named Joe Whitman, a left-handed pitcher. Is he the prize of the Richmond club?
Well, once again, that's somebody else's job to rank prospects. Joe Whitman, I believe he's going tonight.
Oh, nice.
Lefty, had kind of a bit of an up and down season. He's had some really good starts where he's flashed the qualities that would put him on a list like this, but fastball, good slider, left-hand pitcher.
Lefties, say no more. We love lefties. All right, Randy, it's just good catching up with you, man. And I know you got a lot going on, and you got this new adventure, and you guys are. It's good to have homegrown guys who are looking to bring the Giants back to the top. So we appreciate you sharing some time, and go check out that new stadium. Enjoy your trip, and we'll see you when you're back in town.
All right, Murph, Carey, thanks for having me on.
He's the best. Randy Winn.
Thanks, Randy.
Enjoyed it.
All right, that was Randy Winn. Fun conversation on Friday morning with Brian Murphy and myself as I had the opportunity to fill in for Marcus Boucher, our water boy here at KNBR. Giants warm-up rolls on the other side. We will give you the lineups for today's ballgame between the Giants and the White Sox. Full pregame show today at 12:10 p.m. Pacific time. First pitch coming your way, 1:10 p.m. Pacific time from Guaranteed Rate Field in Chicago. Robbie Ray goes for the Giants as they try to take this series from the White Sox. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader. rolling with you until Giants pregame show. First pitch coming your way at 1:10 p.m. Pacific time. We'll have all the bells and whistles from our hour-long pregame beginning at 12:10 p.m. Pacific time. Robbie Ray on the hill for the San Francisco Giants today. It's Adrian Hauser going for the Chicago White Sox. 415-808 KNBR is the number. Still time for some more phone calls this morning as we get you set for Giants baseball. And what we'll do right now is head back out to the phone lines. Appreciate everyone hanging with us this morning. Let's go out to Lee in San Rafael. Lee in San Rafael, you're on Giants warm-up. Lee, how are you this morning?
I'm good, Terry. How you doing?
Doing well on my end. What's on your mind this morning?
Hey, I pitched in junior college myself. I threw about 175 innings in 2 years, and I did not have an overpowering fastball, but I could command all four pitches. I noticed something in Hayden Birdsong's last two outings. He's landing on a stiff front leg, which is causing his off-speed pitches to not finish. I know that pitchers nowadays are taught the tall and fall method. That's why they throw so freaking hard and they blow out their Tommy John, or they get the surgeries. I was a drop and drive guy, like Saberhagen or Cone. And anyway, when I teach pitchers, because I've coached in high school before, I teach them to land like a kitty, because the cat is they always bend their knees when they land. And for some reason, the young men that I coach seem to get it. So that's all I really wanted to share. I think if with a minor mechanical tweak, he would probably be very effective.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Giants are waiting to see Hayden Birdsong at his full potential. You're right. Something's off with Birdsong's delivery right now, his command, his control. I don't know if you watched him during spring training, but he was dominantly during Cactus League play, and he even out of the bullpen at the beginning of the season, he seemed to really be in a rhythm, and right now he just hasn't been able to find it. So I wonder if Giants coaches are paying attention to the front leg thing, or if this is something that you've seen throughout his major league career, you know?
Well, he might be fatiguing. I was a sinker slider guy, but I know how to throw a changeup. And sinker slider guys, he's not that, granted. They pitch better when they have tired legs because the ball moves more, and they have to work on just location. They don't care about velocity. And anyway, I don't know. Just learning to land on that soft front leg, it changes everything, especially on changeups when you're throwing to lefties.
Yeah, all good stuff. Thank you for the call, Lee. I appreciate those thoughts. And look, maybe Giants pitching coach J.P. Martinez will be handed a recording of this of this call later on this afternoon. But it is something that I've noticed with Birdsong. Like, the command was excellent at the beginning of the season when he was pitching in spring training and then coming out of the bullpen. And lately, it's just betrayed him a little bit. And so you wonder, anytime that happens, is he fatigued? Is there a mechanical flaw? What can be corrected? And so, look, I'm willing to listen to absolutely anyone that's played it at a much higher level than I ever did. That's for sure. I trust coaches on this stuff. I trust experts and analysts who spend and dedicate their lives to figuring this stuff out. So I'm just a guy behind the microphone. I know how to get through 15 minutes and throw things to the next commercial break, as our producer Cole often reminds me. What I want to do right now is give you the lineups for today's ball game as the Giants go for the series victory over the Chicago White Sox. Here is how the White Sox and Will Venable will set things up. It's Chase Midroth, the second baseman, leading things off. Old friend Austin Slater out in right field today for the Chicago White Sox, hitting second. He's got a .219 average and a .675 OPS, but he's been solid against left-handed pitchers, still filling that platoon role. Could be a platoon trade at the deadline for a acquiring ball club. Miguel Vargas over at first base, 10 homers, leads all starters today for the White Sox, 34 runs driven in, .234 average, .734 OPS. Andrew Benintendi, the big acquisition from a few years ago in free agency, he's the cleanup man. Left fielder has 9 homers, 30 runs batted in, .237 average, and a .744 OPS. Edgar Caro, the 22-year-old switch-hitting catcher, bats fifth today. No homers, 17 runs batted in, .262 average for Caro, who looks like he could turn into a ball player one day, but just a .635 OPS. I think that he will eventually come along, be a pretty good player for the Chicago White Sox. Lennon Sosa, the designated hitter today, 6 homers, 21 driven in on the season, .277 average, and a .711 OPS. The veteran Michael Taylor out in center field. Giants have seen him through the years with the Royals, the Nationals, and a wide variety of ball clubs. 4 homers, homers, 17 runs batted in, 7 stolen bases for the speedy outfielder. 203 average, 632 OPS. Always does his damage on the base pass, so you want to make sure that you don't walk him. Josh Rojas, former Diamondback, former Mariner, over at the hot corner, hits 8th today for the White Sox. No homers this season. 6 runs driven in, 4 stolen bases, a 187 average, and a 504 OPS. And then they've got Capra. It's Vinny Capra, the third baseman today the shortstop today for the White Sox. 1 homer, 6 runs batted in, 2 stolen bases, a 110 average, and a 309 OPS. So Robbie Ray's got to take care of the bottom of the order for Chicago. Here's how Giants manager Bob Melvin will set things up. Interesting call today at the top of the order. Haven't seen this yet this year. Christian Kost, the third baseman today. 2 homers, 12 runs batted in on the season, 1 stolen base. Kost leading off for the Giants with a 241 average and a 602 OPS. He's followed, of course, by Rafael Devers, the designated hitter. 17 homers this season, 2 with San Francisco, 15 with Boston, 63 runs batted in. 1 stolen base for Devers, 270 average, and an 894 OPS. Giants love having that impact at the top of the order. Big day on Thursday against the Marlins in that 12-5 loss. Elliot Ramos hits third today for the Giants after leading off in last night's ballgame. 13 homers for Ramos, 44 runs batted in, 5 stolen bases, 282 average, and an 827 OPS. A little bit more of a push for Ramos, and he might find his way onto the All-Star team as a reserve. Dominic Smith, the cleanup man for the Giants today, hits from the left side, the first baseman, 1 homer. It came in Colorado in a loss a few weeks ago. 8 RBIs, 1 stolen base, a 286 average, and a 791 OPS for Smith since he was signed after leaving the Yankees organization, where he topped out at AAA this season with Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Willie Adames will hit 5th for the Giants today. 9 homers after knocking a ball with bases loaded and 2 out to the warning track in last night's ball game. 35 runs batted in for Adames, 4 stolen bases, a 213 average, and a 644 OPS. I do think the numbers have picked up in the month of June, but the Giants still waiting for Adames to hit that next gear after signing a massive free agent contract in the offseason. Mike Yastrzemski, who's been hitting the ball harder of late, he gets called in the 6th spot today in the order. Right field, 7 homers, including 2 this week at Oracle Park. 27 runs batted in, 5 stolen bases for Yaz, 244 average, and a 731 OPS on the season. Giants have dropped Jung-Hoo Lee all the way down to the 7th slot in the order. Left-handed center fielder has 6 homers on the season, 34 runs batted in, a 248 average, way lower than the Giants anticipated coming into this season, a 724 OPS for Lee, who did have a triple in Thursday's ball game, the 12-5 loss against the Marlins. Andrew Kisner, the catcher today. Giants will give Patrick Bailey the day off after the big night at the plate last night. Kisner, 1 homer, 1 batted in, a 111 average, a 365 OPS as he backs up Bailey behind the plate. And then Brett Wisely, who swung the bat all right this week. He was picked off first base in the late innings last night. Unacceptable. The Giants just continue to make befuddling, confounding base running errors. Inexcusable, really. Wisely will hit 9th today for the Giants, the second baseman. No homers, 4 runs batted in, no stolen bases, a 125 average, and a 410 OPS in limited opportunities for Wisely this season. The Giants were hoping that Casey Schmidt could play in today's ballgame. He was initially penciled in to hit 5th and start at third base, but about an hour ago, Bob Melvin made the tweak to the lineup. They will go with Christian Kost over at third base, and they'll have him lead off. Schmidt getting another day off after he was hit in the hand on Wednesday by a pitch from a Miami Marlins reliever. Giants believe that they've avoided disaster with that. Schmidt was not placed on the injured list. The x-rays and CT scan did not show significant ligament damage, so he's not going to be out with like a fractured metacarpal, which is often what happens with guys who are hit in the hand with those pitches, especially the high inside fastballs. But Schmidt not in the lineup for the 3rd consecutive day for the San Francisco Giants, so they're hoping they can get him back at some point. Haven't seen any of the beat reporters. I know Shayna Rubin of the San Francisco Chronicle and Maria Gordato of MLB.com are out there in Chicago following the team right now. I haven't seen either of them tweet about the status of Casey Schmidt and whether or not he'll be available off the bench today, but you have to imagine not great news for the Giants that Schmidt is not available in the starting lineup. They're hoping to get him back, and they're hoping that Robbie Ray gives them the outing they need. 8-2 on the season, a 2.83 earned run average, 104 strikeouts for Ray. Adrian Hauser, meanwhile, former Brewers right-hander, 2-2, 2.27 ERA. He's been good since coming over to the White Sox. And I believe it was the middle of May that he made his debut with this ball club. 26 strikeouts on the season, so still a young year for Hauser, who's making his way in the White Sox rotation. I am Kerry Crowley. You're listening to Giants Warm-Up. We'll take scores around Major League Baseball from the games already in place and underway this afternoon on the East Coast and in the Central Time Zone when we come back. More of your phone calls as well. If you'd like to chime in, 415-808-KNBR is the number. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
our strengths in the second half as well. I think we got a lot of stuff to clean up, I think defensively and base running. But that being said, I mean, I think we have a lot better baseball to play, and I think we're in a pretty good spot right now.
Well, that was Giants catcher Patrick Bailey's summary of the first 82 games of this Giants season. 82 down, 80 to go. As the Giants enter today's ball game, 8 games over 500, 45 and 37. Robbie Ray on the hill. I agree. The pitching's carried the Giants to this point on the season, and I do agree that they do have a lot of things to clean up with the base running, with the defense. The Giants can get better. The question is, will they continue to play at this 88-win pace that they showed during the first half of the season? Will that be enough in a contested National League wildcard race that should be hard-fought until the very end? The expectations ratcheted up after the Rafael Devers trade. I think most folks in and around San Francisco coming into the season understood, hey, it might be a rebuilding year, might be a year where the Giants play about 500 ball as Buster Posey gets his feet wet, understands the nuances of his new position as the president of baseball operations. But after making the Devers trade, the message is clear. Giants are going for it. They are not going to sit around and watch other teams take advantage of opportunities. They are the ones with their foot on the gas pedal. And now it is imperative the Giants players on the field put Buster Posey's aggression into action. Let's take a look at scores around Major League Baseball from this afternoon. Only 2 games in progress right now, both on the East Coast. The Sacramento A's leading the New York Yankees 4-0 right now. J.P. Sears throwing a gem. 6 scoreless innings of 2-hit ball against that tough Yankees lineup. The A's 33-51. The Giants will see them in Sacramento at Sutter Health Park next weekend. But right now, the Yankees 13 over 500. They're in a rut. They're in a rut at the plate and trying to get out of it against Sears. A's coming up in the top of the 7th. Nick Kurtz hit a big home run, his 12th of the season. The rookie first baseman, what was he, a 2023 first-round draft pick out of Wake Forest. He's been really good for the A's since coming up. Top of the 7th inning in Detroit, where the Tigers hold a 7-2 advantage over the Minnesota Twins right now. Tigers 19 over 500, trying to go 20 over 500. I believe they'd be the first team in Major League Baseball to get there this season. Casey Mize, first pick in the 2018 MLB draft when the Giants chose Joey Bart, number 2 overall. Mize, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 hits, 5 strikeouts in that one as he's taming Minnesota right now. Byron Buxton, a home run in that one, his 19th of the season. Buxton's been on a tear in the month of June since coming back from the injured list. Look at games around Major League Baseball slated for this afternoon. The Mets at PNC Park against the Pirates. Pirates actually have the edge in that pitching advantage. Pittsburgh will send Bailey Falter, the young left-hander, to the hill. 6-3, 3.59 earned run average. He could be a name to watch around the trade deadline. And the Mets will go with Paul Blackburn, former A starter. He's 0-2, 6.62 ERA on the season, struggling since coming up for the Mets. Their rotation been decimated by injury. Sean Manaea was supposed to return in the month of May, but he is again sidelined. Got some more bad news the other day. So Manaea's return not expected anytime soon for New York. Baltimore Orioles play host to the Tampa Bay Rays tonight. They fell behind 6-0 last night and then proceeded to score about 20 runs. Zach Littell, forever Giant, going for Tampa. The Rays 10 games over 500 right now. Zach Eflin going for Baltimore today at Camden Yards. 6-4, 5.46 ERA for the Orioles starter. Orioles 11 under 500, but low-key of the last month and a half, Orioles have played well. They got off to such a horrific start. They were something like 20 games under 500, but they've been much better of late. So it really just goes to show it's when you face a team in their schedule, that's what matters. The Giants caught the Marlins at the wrong time this week, although who knows where Miami will be a week from now. The Rangers play host to the Seattle Mariners today. It's Kumar Rocker. I loved him coming out of Vanderbilt, but he has really struggled at the Major League level for Bruce Bochy's team. 3-4, 6.68 earned run average for Rocker, former number 1 overall pick. Brian Wu, the Alameda native, going for the Seattle Mariners today. 7-4, a 3.12 ERA. One of the great fastballs in all of Major League Baseball. Remember, Wu struggled mightily at Cal Poly. He was a starter. He was a reliever. Never really had an ERA under 5. Mariners said, heck with it anyway. We're going to make him an early draft pick, and he has morphed into a really good starter up in Seattle. The Cincinnati Reds play host to the San Diego Padres today. They'll go with Andrew Abbott having one whale of a season right now. 7-1, a 1.79 ERA for the Reds left-hander. The Reds quietly over 500 right now. 4 games over. They're very much in the mix. In the NL wildcard race, it's Vasquez going for the Padres. 3-4, a 3.60 earned run average. The Reds won last night behind an outstanding outing from Nick Martinez. 8 innings of no-hit ball before he ultimately gave up his first hit last night. Was on the verge of history against his former ball club. Cleveland Guardians play the St. Louis Cardinals this afternoon. Cardinals have quietly match the San Francisco Giants in the standings right now, 45-38. It's Miles Mikolas going for St. Louis, 4-5, 4.31 earned run average. The Guardians sitting right at 500 after taking a series at Oracle Park last week. Slade Ciccone, former Diamondbacks prospect. Giants lost to him last week. He's 3-3, 3.38 earned run average. He is the starting pitcher today for Cleveland. The Red Sox have been a rut since the Devers trade. They're 40-43. Will send Lucas Giolito to the mound out at Fenway Park today to face former A's stalwart Chris Bassett going for the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays very much in the mix in the American League wildcard chase, 44-37. Heck, they're in the mix in the division right now. It's the Yankees, it's the Rays, it's the Blue Jays. The AL East getting jumbled right now, and Bassett a good one, 7-3, 3.61 ERA. I think he has one of the most fascinating repertoires in all of Major League Baseball. Throws 5 pitches, I think 3 of them plus. Really good offerings, and he's up there in Toronto doing his thing. The Brewers have been hot lately. They've taken off. They'll send Quinn Priester to the mound today against Antonio Senzatella and the Colorado Rockies. Senzatella, I believe, was the first 10-game loser in Major League Baseball this season, but he's now 3-10, 6.48 earned run average. Quinn Priester acquired essentially for nothing from the Boston Red Sox early in the season by the Milwaukee Brewers. He's 5-2, 3.68 earned run average. Giants took 3 of 4 from the Brewers at home earlier this year, but Milwaukee's been on a tear. 26-16 at home this year. They're 10 over 500 at American Family Ballpark out there in the Midwest, and they are 10 games over 500 on the season. Kansas City Royals play host Kauffman to the Los Angeles Dodgers today. Dodgers 8-2 over their last 10. It's Seth Lugo, former New York Mets reliever. He gets the start for Kansas City, 4-5, 2.93 earned run average, and Shohei Ohtani will make his third start of the year. Ohtani going just about 1-2 innings at a time right now as he works his way back into that Dodgers rotation. No record yet, but he does have a 4.50 ERA through his first 2 outings. The Arizona Diamondbacks play host to the Miami Marlins. Brandon Pfaadt on the hill for Arizona. Sandy Alcantara, 4-8, 6.69 earned run average. One of the top trade deadline names right now. Alcantara was so good a few years ago. Cy Young, caliber right-hander, but he's fallen off since Tommy John surgery. I just can't envision a team giving up a top prospect in exchange for a pitcher who has a 6.69 ERA at this point in the season. But a few good weeks could completely change the return that the Marlins ultimately get if and when they deal Alcantara. Some evening ball games on the East Coast to tell you about. The Braves play host to the Phillies. It's Spencer Schwellenbach going for Atlanta against Jesus Luzardo, former A's lefty. 7-3, 4.08 ERA for Luzardo. Schwellenbach, 6-4, 3.21 ERA. The Braves not in the NL wildcard race. That's one of the big surprises this season. They've been great at Truist Park, but terrible on the road. 7 under 500 altogether. Phillies, meanwhile, 14 over 500 right now. And then 2 more games to tell you about. Houston Astros play host to the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs had a huge lead in the division just a week or 2 ago, and now it's fallen back with the Cardinals climbing up, with the Brewers chasing. Colin Rea takes the mound for the Cubs this evening, 6:15 Central Time, first pitch in Houston. Lance McCullers Jr. going for the Astros, 1-2, 4.91 earned run average since coming back from the injured list. And then the Angels play host to the Nationals out in Southern California this weekend. It's Kyle Hendricks, the former Chicago Cub, the veteran right-hander, 5-6, 4.83 earned run average. And he's up against Mike Soroka, 3-5, with a 5.06 ERA. Former 2019 Rookie of the Year candidate, got a vote that year, but Pete Alonso got the 29 others, so Soroka finished in second place in that race. Really struggled with injuries, had the Achilles tear, trying to get his career back on track. I thought he looked good a few weeks ago, probably last month at Nationals Park against the San Francisco Giants, but just has not been able to string together consistent starts this year. So Giants will send Robbie Ray to the hill today. Adrian Hauser gets the ball for the Chicago White Sox. San Francisco looking to win this series and then start rolling as they are in the softest portion of this schedule right now. They didn't take advantage of the beginning of it. The Miami Marlins took 3 in a row, swept the Giants out of Oracle Park amid a brutal homestand where the Giants went 3-6, playing 3 very beatable teams. They did take a series, 2 wins over the Boston Red Sox, but losing 2-3 to the Cleveland Guardians and then being swept by the Miami Marlins, a low point on the season for Buster Posey's ball club. They're trying to get things back on track in Chicago, and they started off very nicely with a 3-1 win on Friday. They need to back things up for Robbie Ray, who's trying to build his all-star candidacy right now. I am Kerry Crowley. When we come back, quick segment, and then it's on to Giants pregame. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader. We are back here on Giants Warm-Up. Kerry Crowley hanging out with you. Giants pregame show on deck. First pitch coming your way. In about 66 minutes here on KNBR, Adrian Hauser will throw it for the Chicago White Sox. Christian Koss will stand in the batter's box. How about that? First leadoff call of the season for Christian Koss. Yes, he's played better of late. I don't know. Bob Melvin taking a chance at the top of the order. I understand the need for contact. I understand the desire to have some speed at the top of the order, but even with a right-handed Adrian Hauser on the mound, I might go with Elliot Ramos up there, follow that with Rafael Devers, and see what you can get from the rest of the group. But we shall see. Last night it was Patrick Bailey producing for the Giants. On Thursday, the Giants lost 12-5, but the biggest swings of the game really came from Christian Koss, Rafael Devers, and Brett Wisely. So you expect Devers, that's a given, but the Giants getting production from unlikely sources. They just need to turn it into victories that add up. And speaking of victories, let's take a quick look at the standings right now in the National League. The Dodgers lead the West by 6.5 games at 52-31 right now. They're 8-2 over their last 10, 5 consecutive victories. They have a plus 90 run differential in that column. They're 30-14 at home. They're 26-20 against teams above 500. They are the class of the National League right now. Chicago Cubs were the team that was leading the National League just a few weeks ago, but they've fallen off of late. 4-6 in their last 10 games. They've really struggled. They still have the best run differential in the NL at plus 95. They have been great at home this season, 10 games over 500, but the Cubs fallen off just a little bit, 48-34, still leading the National League Central, but that race is tightening up, and there's a ton of pressure on Jed Hoyer, who leads that Chicago front office, to go out and make some big additions to the trade deadline. They've been one of the teams linked to Miami Marlins starter Sandy Alcantara. Philadelphia Phillies hanging on to first place in the NL East, but just by a half a game right now. The Phillies out in front of the New York Mets. Phillies 5-5 of their last 10. The Mets 3-7. They are really struggling in the month of June. 48-35 overall, so they lead the National League wildcard race at the moment, followed in second place by, get this, the Milwaukee Brewers. They've been on a run, 8-2 in their last 10 ball games. The Brewers, 10 games over 500 on the season. A team that many assumed would be a trade deadline seller. Doesn't appear as though that's going to be the case. Trade deadline July 31st this year. Some years it's August 1st. Some years it's August 2nd. They're back to the traditional trade deadline of July 31st this year. That's just the way that the schedule fell. And in third place in the National League wildcard race, your San Francisco Giants at 45-37. They have a half-game edge after winning last night's ball game over the Chicago White Sox, over the San Diego Padres and the St. Louis Cardinals. Giants one ahead of the Padres in the win column, even in the loss column, and also even in the win column with the St. Louis Cardinals, one ahead in the loss column. The Cardinals have played one game more than the Giants. The Padres, one game fewer than the Giants, and the Giants will take that. They need to take advantage of the opportunity this week against the White Sox because then they're off to Chase Field for a 4-game set against the Arizona Diamondbacks, 3 games in Sacramento against the A's. That will undoubtedly stress this Giants pitching staff, followed by a very, very tough way to end the first half. It's 3 against the Phillies at home before an off day on that Thursday, heading into a 3-game showdown. The first time the Giants will host the Los Angeles Dodgers this season comes right before the All-Star break at Oracle Park. And who will represent the Giants in the All-Star game right now? Got a pretty good feeling Logan Webb will be there with a few more good starts. I think Robbie Ray will go for the Giants. You could make the case Randy Rodriguez, Eric Miller, Tyler Rogers all deserve to be nominees. It's very difficult to make the All-Star team as a non-closer relief type. So if you're a setup man, if you're a high-leverage guy, good luck. I think Rodriguez has the numbers that would qualify him this year. He's been just sensational at Oracle Park for the Giants. But I actually don't know that any of those 3 pitchers have as good of an opportunity to make the ball club as Elliot Ramos. I think he's really come on of late. Corbin Carroll on the IL right now for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was a shoo-in to start for the National League with how well he was performing during the first half of the season. But his injuries kind of opened up some avenues on the NL side for the outfield. Obviously, I think, you've got Teoscar Hernandez, James Wood. There's a number of really talented players who will represent. Fernando Tatis Jr. probably out there for the Padres, but Ramos put himself in consideration with a really solid May, a pretty strong June. A couple more home runs, he might find his way into that game as a reserve for the San Francisco Giants. So just something to keep an eye on. And then Rafael Devers as well. How about that? DH type. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani will be the starting designated hitter in the National League, but Devers right behind him. 2 home runs in a Giants uniform so far. He was a leading vote getter in the American League. And since being taken off of that American League ballot, Ryan O'Hearn of the Baltimore Orioles kind of climbed into that spot. So good news for O'Hearn and potentially good news for the Giants that Devers could represent them at the All-Star game this year. He's got 3 career nods. He's got 2 Silver Slugger awards, and obviously they're hoping to get a ton of production from him down the stretch. They're really hoping to get Hall of Fame caliber production over the next 8.5 seasons in San Francisco. But the Giants will send a lineup out today with Christian Koss as the leadoff man, with Devers hitting second, with Ramos batting third, all against Adrian Hauser, the starter for the Chicago White Sox. First pitch coming your way at 1:10 p.m. Pacific time. Giants pregame show on the other side. I am Kerry Crowley. I'll hang around a little bit longer for Diamond Notes and all the bells and whistles. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.